Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite a long time since I've sat down here and spoken about the political scene within the UK, within England, because quite honestly, not too much actually goes on. It doesn't really do anything to appeal to the younger audiences and doesn't have that reality TV feel to, let's say, the American side of things. And people may argue, well, that's a good thing or a bad thing. We're still talking about Boris Johnson and regurgitating the same talking points that I think were still the same talking points 5 years ago. It kind of feels like nothing has really changed from when I was younger and watching the news. It's just a carousel, right? It just goes around, around, around. I'm sure it's like that in many other countries. However, there is one thing I do want to be talking about because I think it's very important. It is dominating the headlines right now and will continue to dominate the headlines for the foreseeable future, and that is London Mayor Sadiq Khan, somebody who I heavily respect, and his ULEZ scheme that has been given the green light by the High Court to be expanded throughout Greater London because it was deemed as lawful. Now, for anybody that doesn't know about ULEZ, has no idea what ULEZ stands for, this is what it is all about. The ULEZ is an area of London that more polluting vehicles have to pay to enter. It's a bit like the congestion charge zone, only much bigger. After the expansion, the ULEZ will cover all of Greater London. Put simply, if you drive an older petrol or diesel car, you have to pay TfL £12.50 every day you cross into or move within the ULEZ zone. And this is put in place because supposedly it's all about creating cleaner air and tackling climate change. So when this was announced, obviously the liberals, leftists, Labour, progressives, the climate activists, they were all screaming, cheering. I'm sure there was some tears involved. They simply couldn't believe this was announced. However, there are a lot of people who are not so happy with this and growing more and more concerned with this announcement, me included, because let's be honest, firstly, this is taxing the poorer families who have cars that may be a little bit older and are classified as polluting the area. So every time they cross into London, they're going to have to pay £12.50. You're pricing them out of using their own car. On top of that, the price of fuel that is always rising. All of this stuff is actually hurting the average person, right? Let's be honest, which is kind of funny because these climate activists will stand there, they'll scream there, they'll sit down in the road saying, we're trying to save the average person, we're trying to save the average mother and father, yet your movement has an influence in making sure the average family pays more and more tax. It's funny how it works, isn't it? And how far do these restrictions go? That's what I want to know, right? That's what everybody wants to know. Will they continue to push it further and further? If the last few years have taught anybody anything, is that when people are taking your freedom away in the name of a crisis, you're completely in the right to question that, because once you give them that inch, who knows what they're going to do? Will they proceed to take more than just a mile? If history is anything to go by, yeah, I think so. Look, nobody's against clean air. Everybody likes the sound of breathing clean air when they go about places. I like the sound of it. However, when it's at the expense of the average person financially and then physically, because they won't be able to go to XYZ, and then that will stretch into the mental side of things, then I personally think that is a big issue. And I don't think I'm alone when I say there is a big issue with this, because otherwise the uproar wouldn't be so huge. I think more and more people are realizing where this is heading, and more people are noticing that it won't just stop at London in the near future. Call me conspiracy theorist. However, this ULEZ expansion didn't actually benefit Labour as much as they would have hoped in the by-elections, because the Tories actually managed to hold Uxbridge and South Ruislip because of this expansion, and it kind of puts a stop to Labour's presence growing within the UK. But I think we've all got to come to terms with the fact that after the general election, Labour are going to be in control. And God help us all. 2023 by-elections. Conservatives hold Boris Johnson's old seat of Uxbridge and South Ruislip. The Conservatives have narrowly seen off a Labour victory in Boris Johnson's old constituency, with the by-election loss being blamed on the expansion of a tax on polluting vehicles. The vote in Uxbridge and South Ruislip was triggered after the former Prime Minister stood down as an MP last month. Mr Johnson's decision to leave the Commons shortly before it was recommended he be suspended for 90 days was enough to have potentially triggered a vote anyway. Conservative Steve Tuckwell, a local councillor, has now been elected as the MP for the West London constituency, seeing off Labour's Danny Beales. The race was understandably overshadowed by Mr Johnson, although the Tories wanted to focus on the expansion of London's ULEZ zone being championed by Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan. Both Labour and the Tories suggested that the controversial measure played a sizable role in the election and came up frequently on the doorstep. So the Tories are managing to find a way to connect with their supporters. They found an avenue for the first time in what seems like quite a long time, because because conservative supporters are getting more and more frustrated with the people they want to align with not actually standing for what they believe in any longer, but they're coming out now and saying, well, we stand by the people now. They're playing that card. You know, Rishi Sunak is coming out and saying, I stand with the motorists. We've got to look at these anti-car schemes. We stand for freedom of speech. Yet in the last 5 to 10 years, they've all completely acted in the opposite way. But on the surface, this would sound great to Tories, wouldn't it? It would sound great to conservative supporters. It sounds great. But it's just a PR move, is it not? Because when you look below the surface and you get people like me who can sometimes see through this BS, I'm sure many of you are watching right now, we all kind of understand it doesn't matter who's in control, because the people who are funding certain agendas and have a very big influence will still manage to get their way. So if the Tories, let's say, right, are still in power somehow, some way within the next 5 to 10 years, and with what they're saying now, do people think when the powerful people come knocking, they're going to turn them away? I don't think so. And once again, in my opinion, I don't think this is going to benefit the average person. These restrictions, these policies, are they really there to benefit the average person, suppressing their movement? Does that sound like a good thing? Who knows? Maybe I'm the one in the wrong here. You know, I think a lot of people see what's going on in the news right now, what's being pushed, the certain fear tactics that are being used. Once again, yes, okay, countries are hot, right? Unless you're in England, it's raining right now. Countries are experiencing heat waves, yes, okay, and climate change, on top of all those things, are causing wildfires. Oh wait, no, they're not. Those were actually man-made. Oh, that's interesting. To me, I don't know about you guys, are they not starting to pull on people's emotions? Again, the word crisis is certainly being used. Again, will people walk blindly into everything? Again? And then when the restrictions are put in place, again, and when it gets all too much for people and they start to realize maybe, you know, they weren't told the truth, again, they'll be calling for action, again, and the people will sit there and say to them, well, I told you so. Again, it's like a carousel, right? It just goes round and round and round. Pretty sure I said that at the beginning, didn't I? But leave your comments down below, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about this ULEZ scheme? What do you think about climate change? Do you agree with anything I've said, or am I using my tinfoil hat too much? I'd love to know. But if you have also enjoyed today, please, for me, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that big red subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. Share this video. But until next time, it has been your boy JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.